In Chicago, more than 4,000 people were shot last year alone, and the murder rate so far this year has been even higher. To create this future, we must work with, not against, the men and women of law enforcement. I have ordered the Department of Homeland Security to create an office to serve American victims. The office is called VOICE, Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement. We are providing a voice to those who have been ignored by our media and silenced by special interests. I am sending Congress a budget that rebuilds the military, eliminates the defense sequester, and calls for one of the largest increases in national defense spending in American history. We are blessed to be joined tonight by Corinne Owens, the widow of U.S. Navy Special Operator, Senior Chief William Ryan Owens. Ryan died as he lived, a warrior and a hero, battling against terrorism and securing our nation. Ryan was a part of a highly successful raid that generated large amounts of vital intelligence that will lead to many more victories in the future against our enemy. Ryan's legacy is etched into eternity. Thank you. To those allies who wonder what kind of a friend America will be, look no further than the heroes who wear our uniform. But our partners must meet their financial obligations. And now, based on our very strong and frank discussions, they are beginning to do just that. In fact, I can tell you the money is pouring in. Very nice. I am asking all members of Congress to join me in dreaming big and bold and daring things for our country. I am asking everyone watching tonight to seize this moment, believe in yourselves, believe in your future, and believe once more in America. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States.
Excuse me. If I sound a bit congested, I'm struggling with a horrible sinus infection, so please excuse me. I did want to take this time to comment on the weird love fest between Bush Jr. and the press, and more importantly, the vulture, Trump, spoke to the people today. That cruel bastard stood at the podium and managed, surprisingly, to more or less abide by the talking points on the teleprompter. He cleared the incredibly low bar that he has set for himself by going completely off script during previous public appearances. Not that he didn't engage his egomaniacal Tourette's every so often, praising himself and exonerating himself of blame, particularly when doing a bunch of theater about grieving for troops. He certainly is a worse liar than George W. Bush was a good con man in that it seemed like he believed what he was saying. He's just stupid. You know, I think that the press are angry that Trump is vulgar and baldly disingenuous. He's shit. For a man who's made his career on lying, bad liar. Everything that Trump does fails because he is such a craven, blatant bullshitter that he can only persuade the utmost gullible people for the extreme minimum of time that it takes for him to get his hand into and out of their pocket. And as he's pulling their wallet from their pocket, it's like they catch him as he's pulling the wallet out, but it's already too late to stop him. So, what did Trump announce? Because we've all been waiting. You know, it feels like he's been president for 4 years already. But in fact, I think he's only been president for a few months. He announced a public registry, really sinister, a public registry of immigrant crimes. This is like Pravda shit. It's so funny that so many goddamn libertarians and free speech warriors backed this vulture. Considering his disdain for dissent and his love of punitive authority. That's what really makes Trump more dangerous, perhaps, than any president since Nixon. He may even have surpassed Nixon in this category yet. I don't know. You know, Nixon managed to commit a genocide in South Asia, so we'll see where Trump commits his genocide. It'll probably be somewhere in the Middle East, because that'll be an easy sell for his re-election. America's very good at genocides. They ran out of people to genocide at home, so they've been doing it overseas for 40, 50 years now. So Trump announced that he was going to create a kind of a Voice of America style government propaganda organ. Voice is the acronym for it. It's basically a media apparatus for spreading manipulated statistics about immigrant crime, because the Lügenpresse, the lying press, has not been. And it's funny because even a lot of these so-called liberal left skeptics on YouTube endorse this narrative that the press is trying to cover up an epidemic of immigrant crime. In America, it's specifically about Mexican Americans. In Europe, it's about, in America, it's Mexican rapists, and in Europe, it's Islamo rape gangs. The problem with, as someone who grew up in the inner city, the problem with fucking statistics by race is the bell curve problem. I grew up in the inner city during a time when statistics were used to justify draconian drug enforcement policies that tore families apart, that got innocent people killed and incarcerated for grotesque sentences for minor drug violations. The fucking Rockefeller laws were the order of the day. I mean, they were so aggrieved that the inner city was selling drugs to white kids. or so was the song they played, with the statistics. So the announcement of this kind of counter press organization, this disinformation campaign about the threat of immigrant crime, is going to justify a lot of broad criminalization. It's funny because, it's not funny, it's tragic, that if you watch all the pieces on the chessboard, they're being moved into place very deliberately. So Trump's first step is to suspend or terminate an executive order about using private prisons. So on one end, he creates a newly emboldened private prison industry, and then he stokes hysteria and implements harsh policies, broad criminalization, that will create demand. The Republican economic program is a form of extreme corporate welfare. I'm shocked that the libertarians and ANCAPs of YouTube aren't screaming their eyes out and crying blood over Trump's massive corporate welfare giveaways. When Trump talks about starting an infrastructure program, he doesn't give a fuck about Eisenhower's federal highway program. Trump's business involves real estate and contracting. He's just going to do what he's using the Putin model of kleptocracy, where he passes policy that basically moves money from the treasury to his private businesses and interests. In this case, the infrastructure program will surely be a way for him to use a bunch of front companies to take corporate welfare for probably the standards will probably be something to the effect of, these were shovel-ready projects. Shovel-ready projects are basically things that contractors were going to do anyway, projects they were going to carry out anyway, that now are going to be subsidized by the government and are going to produce profit for private entities without doing anything to rehabilitate public infrastructure. So, number one, a massive cash grab by the private prison industry. Number two, a massive cash grab regarding infrastructure by people from the finance, investment, and real estate sector. And what I also felt of interest was how poorly Trump models empathy, how bad he is at feigning concern. His first military operation as president was a clusterfuck. And, a little 8-year-old girl was killed. A lot of soldiers died, and I believe it was a Yemeni raid. He does a bunch of show pony bullshit with one of the widows of the incident. And just does so badly at impersonating a human being that cares. He blames, of course, he deflects blame. It's fascinating, this kind of like egomaniacal Tourette's that Trump has, because he's so good at, not good, he's compulsively attached to deflecting blame. It's almost like he can't control it. This was a failure, but I'm not responsible for it. See, but that's a failure of publicity, not truth. We know what the truth is, but the guy doesn't even know how to politic. The takeover has already happened. It's not happening in slow motion necessarily, like we thought it would. It's actually happening so quickly that our impression of time, excuse me, has been warped by the expediency of the Trump oppression regime. So pay attention, because the window to resist is closing very, very quickly. We already had the first State of the Union, and probably around the summer, you're going to have Trump making Supreme Court appointments, filling federal judgeships with stooges, and then a bunch of rubber stamping between here and 2018. And with the Patriot Act and all the other stuff that's already in place to create a completely closed and oppressive society, there's no more time for cringe. Donald Trump's not a joke anymore. He's deadly serious.